Hello and welcome to another video. It is June. We are officially at the halfway point of the year, so I thought it was a great opportunity to give you a Make 9 update. What projects have I completed? What projects have I planned for? And which projects are looking less and less likely? I'm going to go through my original Make 9 grid and go through each of the boxes and give you an update on where I'm at. My first box is a jumper for my partner. No, I have not made this yet, but I have planned to make it in the latter half of the year. I'm pretty sure I have picked a pattern and maybe even the yarn. The pattern is the Petite Knit Zipper Sweater Light Man, and I think I might use Sanaskarn's Peer Gynt. That depends on how well my vest wears and if my partner likes the feel of that finished garment. So I am open to change the yarn choice. The pattern is pretty solid though. My next square is a dress. This is also a no, but it is my next project that I have lined up. I have settled on the Coastline mini dress by Olga Knitwear Design, and I'm going to be making that in Knitting for Olive's Pure Silk held double. And I even have my test square done. So I am very much looking forward to casting this project on. My next square is a vintage pattern. This project I have not completed and is looking like one of the ones that I would deprioritize if I run out of time. I'm having a bit of a mental block with this one. I think because this particular project comes with a lot of extra steps. So I am planning to pick a pattern from one of my Nana's old knitting books. Not only do I have to set aside time to go through books and pick a pattern, I am also very likely to need to source yarn that is similar to the vintage weight yarn that will be used in the patterns. I will also probably need to do a fair amount of maths to upsize the pattern. A lot of vintage patterns are suited to a small bust size and only tend to come in one or two sizes. So there is a huge likelihood that there will be some pattern modifications I will have to do. And because of all those extra steps, I'm just feeling a lot of friction to starting this project. And I think it's just because it's not as easy as logging onto Ravelry, finding a pattern, making a gauge swatch, and then starting right away with the recommended yarn and needle size. I would really like to overcome this block. This is still a project I would very much like to do, but it is one that might have to wait until next year. My next square is more vests. I am so close with this one, and in fact, this might be ticked off by the time I finish this video. If it is, I will edit myself as I do this video. As of right now, while I'm filming, I have one vest complete, which is the Swirl Slipover by Twin Knits, and I have one vest almost complete, which is the Lulu Slipover by Petite Knit. I had to take a pause on making my second vest over the end of May because we had an extraordinary heat wave. And then when I picked it back up again, I realized I didn't have the right needle sized, but now I have the needles ordered, they're on their way. And as soon as they arrive, I am planning on getting this finished, which you may be seeing right now. So we shall see. Once these two are complete, that will be my first square ticked. My next square is also my biggest endeavor, and that is to finish my temperature blanket. This is going so well and is another one that's pretty close. I have been dutifully working on this blanket over the spring and summer months, but I am planning on hibernating it one last time over July, just while it starts to heat up again. But I am on track to finishing this around the end of September, beginning of October, as long as I pick it back up. By the time you're watching this video, I should have only 27 rows left to do, so I am so close to ticking this box off. But for now, I have to leave it unticked. My next square is a cobalt blue piece, and I am having a real struggle with this one. Every new month that I have not finished this square, I change my mind on what I want to do. When I was thinking about it over the winter months, I really wanted a cobalt blue cabled jumper, and now we're into the spring and summer, I'm really craving a cobalt blue t-shirt or tank top. I don't think I'll be able to pick a particular pattern for this project until I'm ready to focus on it, as it appears to be very seasonally dependent for me. And as a result, I keep pushing this further and further into the year. So this is another square that I might push to next year or drop off my Make 9 entirely if I run out of time. My next square was to recreate Dee Dee's shirt from Man on the Inside, and this one is a yes. I finished a polo number 1 by My Favourite Things Knitwear in April, just before the May heat wave, so unfortunately I have not been able to wear this, but I am absolutely delighted with the outcome, and I am really looking forward to wearing it in the cooler autumn months. My next square is a colourwork piece. This is a no, but it is planned for over the autumn and winter. I'm pretty settled for the pattern for this, which is the Brigid sweater by Megan Horton, and I'd really like to use the Durorum Natura Gilead line as the yarn. I am still open on changing my mind for this one, especially as we get closer to Christmas when a lot of new colourwork jumper patterns might get released. I'm definitely looking forward to starting this one, and it does give me something to look forward to as the weather gets worse and the days start to draw in. My last square of my Make 9 is Make More Summer Tops, and this is another one that is almost done. I have one top finished, which is my Plot Twist Tank by Jamie Creates, and I am, as of filming, currently working on my camisole number 9 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. If I have finished that top by the time you are watching, I will tick this box off. Originally, I did want 3 tops in this category, but realistically, the rest of the summer is going to be taken up by my dress, so I'm going to call it done for now with 2 tops, and a third one will just be a bonus. I'm going to put my updated grid on the screen next to me right here, and we can see visually how far I have gotten through my plans. I am definitely not where I thought I'd be at this point in the year, especially with half the year done, but there are definitely some reasons for that. I have identified 3 things that I was doing which have hindered my progress on my Make 9, and 3 things that I've done that have helped my progress on my Make 9. Some things that I'm not doing great or are mistakes in hindsight. I think I was a little ambitious with the amount of projects that I wanted to make. My mistake was that on a few squares, I have multiple patterns associated with them. So my More Vests and More Summer Tops squares are way harder to tick off than my single project squares, and I've had to sink a lot more time than if they were just single pattern projects. I have found myself concentrating on the squares that have multiple patterns, so there is a possibility that further into the year I will start to pick up momentum as the squares become easier to tick off with just one pattern per square. The second mistake that I hadn't accounted for that has hindered my Make 9 plans for this year is I spent the first couple of months working on plans or projects that I'd already started from the year before, rather than starting with my 2026 plans. Effectively, I didn't start my 2026 plans until February, which you can definitely see by how little I've ticked off my Make 9. This lets me know that I do need to account for that if I'm going to do this again next year. This looks like rolling over plans from last year onto my current year's plans, or aiming to finish everything before I start to allocate time for my new projects. My final mistake, which has really hindered my progress, is I did not account for any scrap yarn projects. I am someone who doesn't like to keep a lot of yarn in storage. I don't have a big stash, and I tend to only keep yarn for the next couple of projects. I'm buying quite a lot of new yarn for projects, and I'm having leftovers and scraps. And my scrap box is currently at capacity. I'm finding it hard to allocate time to work through some of that stash yarn because I feel like it takes away from my Make 9 plans and makes me feel like I'm going to fall behind even more than I already am. But I am now finding it impacts how comfortable I am buying new yarn, because visually I've got very full boxes of yarn that I really would like to work through. I've done a couple of scrap yarn projects here and there over the last 6 months, but they definitely take time away from my main plans. And I'd probably feel more comfortable working on them if I'd built this in my original plan. So that's definitely something that I would change for next year. But what things have I done well? So I've identified 3 things that have really helped whilst doing this Make 9. One thing that I really liked was keeping my squares vague. A lot of them don't have specific projects associated with them, which meant I could be very flexible with patterns if new things turned up, or if I didn't have the yarn to work on a certain project, I could switch it up and still be able to tick off squares. I've definitely gone back and forth on a couple of my squares, like my dress square and my summer top square. So building in this flexibility has really helped me. The other thing that I did well, I think, was the range of projects I picked. I found I haven't lost momentum over this change in seasons because I had squares that were better suited to different seasons. I'm not forcing myself to make jumpers in the heat of summer because I have a summer top square and a dress square. And equally, when I transition back into the autumn-winter period, I'm really looking forward to making my colourwork jumper and my jumper for my partner, which are going to be big woolly sweaters. The third thing that I think has really helped me with this Make 9 is putting my temperature blanket as part of my plans. I have taken long breaks from working on my temperature blanket, and realistically, if I didn't incorporate it into my 2026 plans, I could have seen me leave this for another year. And in fact, I came very close to just not finishing this project entirely. Having this central to my plans means I don't feel guilty when I work on it. I believe that I'm going to finish it this year, and it's motivating me to finishing it this year, which is amazing because it is such a big time sink. At the moment, it takes a lot of time away from my other projects and it's slowing a lot of things down. But on the flip side, when it's finished, it will open up a huge amount of time for me to work on projects every day. As a little bonus update, one of my big plans for 2026 was 12 socks in 12 months. And this is the plan that is most in hand. I'm actually ahead of schedule right now and have been for quite a lot of the year, which has meant I have been able to swap out a sock project for a scrap project. And this is the point where I've been able to keep marginally on top of my scraps. So far this year, I have made 7 pairs of socks. So I've actually already made July's. And by the time you're watching this video, I may have started an 8th. I also have the other 5 pairs of socks planned out, as well as 3 pairs of socks in reserve. I have all of the yarn for these socks and I have all the patterns picked out. So these are very easy to just pick up whenever I feel like it. At the moment, it's a bit too hot to be knitting on the tube. It's quite sweaty. And I've also started cycling into work, so I have lost that commute hour each way, but I am still knitting during my lunch break, so I'm planning on casting on a new sock very soon. Ideally, I would like to be further along with my Make 9 plans, but I'm still pretty proud of where I am right now. I definitely made some mistakes early on, but I have tackled some huge squares that involve more than one project, and I've been really good at working on my biggest project, which is my temperature blanket. I know by the end of the summer I will have 2 of my biggest projects done, being my temperature blanket and my dress, and I'm hoping that will open up a lot more time in the last quarter of the year. I'm really looking forward to doing my end of year roundup of my Make 9 plans to see how far I've managed to get. Thank you so much for watching. How are your 2026 plans going, and what's your favourite item that you've made so far? For now, that's everything, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully. Bye!